She said I would never become successful. 6 months later, she was standing outside my door, crying, begging for a second chance, but by then, everything had changed. My name was no longer connected with failure. My empty bank account had been replaced with millions of dollars. And the man she left me for was now asking me for a favor. But she didn't know that the biggest mistake of her life was walking away from the person who was quietly building an empire. My name is Daniel Carter, and 6 months ago, I was the man my own wife was ashamed to stand beside. I remember the night she told me she was leaving. We were sitting in our small apartment in Chicago, the same apartment where we started our marriage with dreams of building a future together. Rain was hitting the windows, and the silence between us felt heavier than anything I had ever experienced. My wife, Emily, looked at me with disappointment in her eyes. She wasn't angry. She wasn't crying. She was just done. "Daniel, I can't do this anymore," she said quietly. I looked at her confused. "Do what?" She took a deep breath and said the words that would destroy everything I believed about love. "Live a life where I'm always waiting for you to become someone." I felt my heart sink. For 7 years, I had worked day and night trying to build my technology company. I failed multiple times. I lost investors. I borrowed money. I sacrificed weekends, vacations, and everything else because I believed one day my dream would become reality. But Emily didn't see the struggle. She only saw the results that hadn't arrived yet. "I never asked you to be rich," I said. "I just wanted you to believe in me." She looked away and whispered, "Belief doesn't pay bills, Daniel." Then she said the sentence I would never forget. "Some people are meant to dream. Others are meant to succeed. You're just not one of them." A week later, I discovered the truth. Emily wasn't leaving because she needed space. She was leaving because she had already found someone else. His name was Alexander Reed, a billionaire investor known across America for buying companies and living a luxury lifestyle. He had private jets, mansions, expensive cars, and everything that represented success. Emily didn't just leave me, she upgraded me with someone richer. When I confronted her, she didn't even deny it. She stood in our apartment wearing a designer dress I had never seen before and said, "Daniel, Alexander can give me the life I deserve." I looked at her and asked, "Was our love worth nothing?" She smiled sadly and replied, "Love is important, but security matters more." Those words broke something inside me. The woman who promised to stand beside me during my hardest days had left the moment life became difficult. The next morning, she packed her bags and walked away without looking back. Everyone thought I was destroyed. My friends felt sorry for me. My family told me to move on. They thought I had lost everything. But what nobody knew was that 3 weeks before Emily left, I received an email that would change my entire life. For years, I had been developing a revolutionary artificial intelligence software that could transform the healthcare industry. Everyone rejected my idea. Investors laughed at me. Some even told me I was wasting my life. But one company finally saw the potential. They wanted to buy my technology. The offer was worth $15 million. I had kept the news secret because I wanted to surprise Emily. I wanted to tell her that all our sacrifices were finally paying off. But she never stayed long enough to hear it. After she left, I had a choice. I could chase after someone who abandoned me, or I could focus on becoming the person I always knew I could be. I chose myself. For the next 6 months, I worked harder than ever before. I signed the deal, expanded my company, hired a team of experts, and within months, my small startup became one of the fastest growing technology companies in America. The same people who ignored me suddenly wanted meetings with me. The same investors who rejected me were calling every day. My bank account grew, but more importantly, my confidence returned. I wasn't trying to prove Emily wrong anymore. I was proving myself right. Then one evening, 6 months after she left, someone knocked on my door. I opened it and froze. It was Emily, but she looked completely different. The confidence she once had was gone. Her expensive clothes were replaced by a simple jacket. Her eyes were red from crying. "Daniel," she whispered. I didn't say anything. I just looked at her. She stepped closer and tears started falling. I made a mistake. Those 4 words were something I never expected to hear. The woman who once walked away without hesitation, was now standing in front of me, asking for another chance. Alexander left me, she said. His company lost billions. Everything changed. I finally understood. She wasn't back because she realized my value. She was back because she lost us. She reached for my hand. I was wrong about you. I should have believed in you. I looked at her and remembered the night she told me I would never succeed. I remembered eating cheap dinners because we couldn't afford anything else. I remembered every time I needed support and received criticism instead. Emily, I said calmly, do you know what hurts the most? She looked at me with tears in her eyes. It wasn't that you left when I had nothing. It was that you made me believe I was nothing. She started crying harder. Daniel, please. People change. I nodded. Yes, people change. But sometimes they change after losing the person who loved them the most. She stood there silently, realizing the man she abandoned was no longer the same person. The desperate husband who begged her to stay was gone. In his place was someone who finally understood his worth. Before she left, she asked one final question. Do you hate me? I looked at her and said, no, I don't hate you. Because if you never left, I might have never discovered what I was capable of. She walked away that night, and I never saw her again. Months later, my company was featured on the cover of a major business magazine. The headline read, "The billionaire entrepreneur who turned rejection into success." Everyone wanted to know how I became successful so quickly, but nobody knew the truth. My biggest motivation wasn't money. It wasn't revenge. It was the moment someone I loved looked at me and decided I wasn't enough. That pain became my fuel. And the greatest revenge wasn't making her regret leaving me. The greatest revenge was becoming someone who no longer needed her approval. Because sometimes the person who walks away from you isn't losing you. They're losing the future they could have shared with you. And sometimes the person they underestimate today becomes the person they can never reach tomorrow.